When we think about gearing up for a really tough physical task, we usually have this, I don't know, this quest for the ultimate flawless suit of armor in mind.
Right, yeah, like you're looking for that magic bullet.
Exactly. We picture finding that one perfect piece of equipment that's just going to, magically solve every problem, protect us from all the elements, and feel completely invisible while we're wearing it.
It's totally the classic superhero fantasy, like the suit that breathes perfectly, deflects bullets, and somehow still lets you feel the wind on your skin.
Yeah, totally.
But, I mean, anyone who has ever actually done hard physical labor knows that the physical world it doesn't work like a comic book.
Which is such a rude awakening when you actually get out there and get your hands dirty,
Yeah.
especially with something as aggressively mundane as weeding a garden.
Oh, absolutely.
So, welcome to today's deep dive. Today, we are unpacking a masterclass in material science and human ergonomics for you. We're going to explore how a seemingly simple choice of material completely transforms your physical experience of a task.
Yeah, and we're specifically looking at those trade-offs between protection, precision, and comfort.
Right, because it sounds incredibly simple on the surface, right? Gardening gloves.
Yeah, just gloves. But what we are really analyzing here is how human hands interact with high-friction environments.
Hey.
By examining the structural and physical properties of two distinctly different materials that dominate this space, we can map exactly why they succeed, where they fail, and what that actually means for the biomechanics of the person wearing them.
Which is fascinating because finding the perfect tool it's rarely about finding a flawless item. It is almost always about choosing the right set of flaws.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. And to really appreciate the search for this so-called perfect weeding glove, we have to understand the baseline first. We got to look at what most people reach for by default, and that is the high-density polyethylene glove, or HDPE.
Yes, the standard, ubiquitous, often kind of semi-transparent plastic glove.
We've all seen them.
Oh, for sure. If you've ever handled food at a deli or, prepped raw meat in your kitchen or dyed your hair, you have interacted with a variation of this material.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
And in the context of light gardening and quick yard work, they are incredibly common for a few very specific structural reasons.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because on paper, the appeal of the HDPE glove actually makes a lot of sense, right?
It does.
They are highly affordable and they're incredibly straightforward to use. But the defining characteristic, the thing that actually makes them so popular for quick tasks, is the loose fit.
Exactly. That loose fit is the critical ergonomic feature of the HDPE glove, and it comes directly from the chemistry of the material itself.
Okay, lay the chemistry on us.
So high-density polyethylene is a polymer made up of long linear chains of ethylene molecules.
Linear chains, right?
Right. Because these chains are linear, they pack together very tightly, and that's actually where the high-density part of the name comes from.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, and this makes the material relatively stiff. It just doesn't have the elasticity to stretch and snap back around the complex three-dimensional contours of a human hand.
So manufacturers don't even try to make it form-fitting then.
No.
They just manufacture them to be inherently baggy,
Yeah.
which means you can slide them on and off incredibly quickly.
Right.
There's absolutely no tugging, no wrestling with the fingers, no peeling them back when your hands are slightly damp. You just slip your hand in and you're ready to go.
It's all about accessibility.
To give you a mental image, think about like a cheap plastic emergency rain poncho. You know the ones you buy at a theme park when it suddenly starts pouring?
Oh, yeah. That is a perfect analogy. The emergency poncho is designed for maximum accessibility, not performance.
Right. You throw it on in 2 seconds, it covers you up, and for a quick dash from the roller coaster to the gift shop, it is fantastic. But if you had to run a marathon in that poncho, or do, like, prolonged, strenuous physical activity, it would be catching the wind, tearing on branches, and getting completely twisted around your body.
It would be a...
Total nightmare. So I have to ask, if bagging your hands in loose plastic is so universally convenient for brief moments, why does that loose fit become such a major liability, specifically when you transition to weeding?
Well, because weeding is not a passive, low-impact activity.
Right.
When we look at the mechanics of what weeding actually entails, it's fundamentally a high-friction, physically intensive task.
Yeah, it really is.
I mean, soil is not just soft dirt. It's highly abrasive. It's full of jagged silica particles, small rocks, rough organic matter, and, sharp root systems.
Well, it's basically sandpaper.
Basically, yeah. You're driving your hands into a highly abrasive medium, gripping rough stems, and encountering unpredictable resistance from thorns and rigid branches.
So it's a highly aggressive environment for something as flimsy as a literal plastic bag.
Precisely. And in that high friction, high abrasion environment, the HDPE glove's greatest strength, which is its loose, easy on, easy off fit, actually triggers a cascade of physical failures.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, HDPE gloves provide only a very basic level of protection, and they critically lack durability under shear stress.
Well, wait, let's define shear stress here. What is actually happening to the plastic when you grab a stubborn weed?
Okay, so when you grip a weed and pull, you are applying force in opposite directions. The friction of the abrasive soil and the rough stem grabs onto the exterior of the loose plastic, right?
Right, okay.
While your hand is pulling on the interior. And because the material is not flush against your skin, that loose plastic folds, it bunches up and it pinches.
Oh, I hate when that happens.
Yeah, and high-density polyethylene has a very low yield point, meaning once it stretches past a certain tiny margin, it undergoes plastic deformation.
Meaning it doesn't bounce back.
Exactly. It warps permanently and then it just tears. The friction of the soil pulls at the loose plastic rather than sliding smoothly past it.
Because it's like wearing that baggy rain poncho into a wrestling match.
Aha, yes.
Every loose fold is just a handle for the opponent, or, in this case, the dirt and the roots, to grab onto and rip.
That's exactly what's happening. And the result of that physical reality is just catastrophic for your workflow.
Oh, totally.
A typical moderately intensive weeding session will completely destroy 2 to 3 pairs of these HDPE gloves.
Easily.
Yeah.
And that completely disrupts the task. You start the afternoon, slip on your highly convenient gloves, and 20 minutes later, the fingertips have completely blown out.
Yep.
Dirt is now packed under your fingernails, moisture is seeping in, and you have to stop what you're doing, walk away from the garden, and go get another pair.
Which is so frustrating.
It completely negates the initial convenience. The sheer ease of putting them on is entirely canceled out by the frustrating reality that you are constantly replacing them mid-task.
Exactly. Your workflow is broken. You are essentially fighting the limitations of your tool just as much as you are fighting the weeds.
Which naturally drives the need for a more resilient alternative.
I mean,
if you're serious about the task, you cannot rely on a tool that structurally fails under the basic mechanical demands of the environment.
you really can't.
The sheer inefficiency of burning through multiple pairs of gloves just to clear out a flower bed is what forces us to look at a completely different class of material.
Right.
So if bagging your hands in stiff plastic just leads to shredded gloves and dirty fingernails, what material actually survives the friction?
Well, enter the challenger, nitrile.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
It does. Nitrile represents a massive fundamental shift in material science for this specific application. To understand why it performs so differently under shear stress, we really need to look at exactly what nitrile is at a molecular level.
Given to us.
So nitrile is a synthetic version of latex. Specifically, it's a synthetic copolymer.
And crucially, which, by the way, is a huge deal for a vast number of people.
Yeah.
Because it is entirely synthetic, it completely bypasses the severe allergy risks associated with natural rubber latex.
Yes, that is a huge factor.
You get the mechanical benefits of latex without your immune system freaking out over the natural plant proteins found in traditional rubber.
Correct. It is hypoallergenic by design, but the physical upgrades it brings to the high abrasion environment of a garden are just massive.
Oh, yeah.
First and foremost is its extreme durability and high resistance to punctures and tears. Because of its structural integrity, you usually only need a single pair for an entire weeding session.
Which is amazing.
You completely eliminate that workflow disruption.
Wait, copolymer? What does that actually look like if we zoomed in with a microscope? Why does that molecular structure make it so much tougher than the linear plastic chains in the HDPE glove?
Okay, so a copolymer means it's manufactured using multiple different types of monomers, or basically building blocks.
Okay.
In the case of nitrile, it's made of cholinitrile and butadiene. Think of them as 2 different ingredients bringing distinct superpowers to the mix.
I love that. Superpowers.
Yeah. The acrylonitrile provides extreme chemical resistance and structural hardness, and then the butadiene provides the rubbery flexibility and elasticity.
So you're basically weaving toughness and stretchiness together at the microscopic level.
Exactly. And during the manufacturing process, these polymer chains are crop-linked.
Cross-linked.
Right. Instead of just lying next to each other like dry spaghetti in a box, which is roughly how the HDPE chains sit, the nitrile chains form a three-dimensional interconnected mesh.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so when a sharp rock or a rough stem catches the surface of a nitrile glove, the 3D mesh distributes the force. It stretches, absorbs the energy, and then bounces back to its original shape without permanently deforming or tearing.
Hold on, though. I have a pushback here. If it's this tough, highly resistant 3D mesh locking out the elements and fitting aggressively tight against your skin, wouldn't that feel incredibly restrictive?
It sounds like it would.
Like wearing a tiny car tire on your hand.
Yeah.
How does wrapping your hand tightly in synthetic latex actually help with the delicate physical act of pulling weeds?
What's fascinating here is that this is where we get into the actual ergonomics of the task. The physical properties of nitrile connect directly to the biomechanics of how human hands work.
Okay.
Because you have to remember, weeding isn't just about protecting your hands from getting dirty. If that were the sole objective, you could just wear thick oven mitts out into the garden.
Right, but you'd crush everything in the garden. You wouldn't be able to grab a single stem.
Exactly. Because weeding is actually an act of extreme precision.
It really is.
You are constantly making microscopic decisions with your fingertips. You have to navigate through the delicate stems of the plants you want to keep, isolate the stem of the invasive weed, trace it down to the exact point where it meets the soil, and apply precisely enough pressure to grip it without severing it.
Which requires an incredible amount of sensory feedback.
Absolutely.
If you can't feel the stem, you either don't squeeze hard enough and your hand slips off, or you squeeze too hard and crush the plant.
Yes. The scientific term for this is proprioception, specifically relying on the tactile feedback loop provided by the mechanoreceptors in your skin.
Mechanoreceptors, okay.
Yeah, your fingertips are loaded with Pacinian corpuscles, which are nerve endings that detect microscopic vibrations and pressure changes.
Oh, wow.
And the second skin fit of nitrile is vital because it preserves this feedback loop. Because the synthetic copolymer has such high elasticity, it stretches and conforms perfectly to the unique uneven topography of your hand.
It's like a diver's wetsuit for your hands.
That is a perfect way to describe it.
It shrinks down to match every single contour, eliminating all of those baggy folds that the plastic HDPE glove had.
A wetsuit is a brilliant way to conceptualize it. Because there's no air gap and no loose material between your skin and the glove, those mechanoreceptors in your fingertips can actually feel the texture of the stems and the tension of the root through the thin layer of nitrile.
That is so cool.
Your brain receives the real-time sensory data it needs to perform micro-adjustments in pressure.
So you are marrying heavy-duty armor with microscopic precision.
Yes.
You put a highly resistant barrier between your skin and the jagged silica of the soil. But that barrier is so well fitted and so communicative that your brain can still process delicate tasks.
The tool essentially disappears into the workflow. Instead of consciously managing the loose, flapping fit of a plastic bag on your hand, you're just weeding.
You're just doing the work.
Exactly. Your hand functions exactly as a hand should, it just happens to be armored. And this tight fit is exactly why a single pair lasts the whole session.
Oh, right, because there's nothing to catch on.
Precisely. The snug fit means there's no loose material, no folded handles for a thorn to catch onto, or to get ground between a rock and your thumb. The sheer forces of the abrasive soil just glide smoothly over the fitted, elastic surface of the nitrile.
It sounds like an absolute marvel of modern engineering. You get the durability, you get the precision feedback, you get the allergy-free synthetic material.
It's pretty great.
But, as we know, every single design choice in the physical world comes with a trade-off.
Always.
You simply cannot cheat physics. And this brings us to the unintended consequence of the nitrile glove. Extreme protection and a second skin fit introduce a brand new physical discomfort that the flimsy, baggy HDPE gloves never had to deal with.
This is the critical downside of the material, and it's entirely born from the very chemical properties that make the glove so successful in the first place.
Right.
The nitrile glove fits tightly specifically to create an impermeable barrier. It's designed to keep external moisture, dirt, bacteria, and chemicals completely out.
But a barrier works in both directions. If nothing can get in, nothing can get out.
Exactly. Because the synthetic copolymer is highly resistant and fundamentally non-breathable by design, it inevitably traps the user's own sweat against their skin on the inside.
Ah, the sweat problem. It is this distinct, almost cruel irony of ergonomics.
It really is.
You completely solve the durability problem. You completely solve the precision problem. You were out there in the dirt pulling weeds with the tactile sensitivity of a surgeon. But in doing so, you have essentially created a tiny, miserable microsauna for your hands.
A microsauna is an incredibly accurate description of the internal thermodynamics of a working nitrile glove.
Gross, but accurate.
Your hand is performing intense physical labor, right? The muscles are contracting, they're generating heat. Your body's natural thermoregulatory response is to produce sweat to cool that skin down through evaporation.
But inside the nitrile wetsuit, evaporation is physically impossible.
Right. The latent heat of vaporization just cannot occur because the moisture has absolutely nowhere to go. So the sweat condenses on the interior wall of the synthetic latex. The humidity inside the glove spikes to near 100%, leading to that incredibly uncomfortable, swampy feeling.
Swampy is the word.
And if left long enough, it leads to skin maceration, which is where your skin gets pale, wrinkled, and highly sensitive, much like sitting in a bathtub for an hour.
So what does this all mean? Do you just have to handle this? Do you just suffer through having swampy, prune-like hands for the sake of the perfect weed pull?
Wow.
Is that just the physical toll you have to pay to the gardening gods for using advanced materials?
Not necessarily. Because users understand this specific thermodynamic trade-off, they have developed practical mitigations for this exact flaw.
Okay, good.
The first mitigation you can apply happens right at the beginning of the session, utilizing a desiccant. You can actually apply baby powder to your hands before sliding the nitrile gloves on.
Ah, because the baby powder acts as a moisture buffer. It's highly hygroscopic, meaning it absorbs and holds onto water molecules.
Yes. It manages the microclimate for a time. It absorbs that initial layer of sweat and significantly reduces the physical friction inside the glove, making it much more comfortable as your hands begin to heat up.
Okay, that's a solid trick.
However, for longer, more intense weeding sessions, powder alone is eventually overwhelmed. It basically turns into a paste.
Yikes, okay.
So the ultimate and preferred workaround requires a behavioral shift. It requires an actual adjustment to how you pace the physical task.
To change your workflow.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Once the hands inevitably get too sweaty and the microsauna becomes unmanageable, the user shouldn't just grit their teeth and push through the misery.
Right, don't just suffer.
Exactly. They should remove the gloves entirely. Take a break, step back from the flower bed, go to a sink, wash and clean your hands thoroughly, dry them completely, and then switch to a fresh, dry pair of nitrile gloves before returning to the dirt.
You know, that is such an incredible paradigm shift in how we interact with our equipment.
It really is.
Think about it. With the cheap HDPE gloves, you were stopping your work to change gloves because the tool had suffered a catastrophic physical failure.
Okay.
The plastic literally ripped open.
Yep.
But with the nitrile gloves, the tool itself is perfectly fine. That 3D mesh of copolymer could keep taking shear stress for hours. But you're stopping to manage the human element inside the tool.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that is the profound philosophical lesson hidden inside a seemingly mundane discussion about gardening equipment.
Oh, I love this.
Finding the perfect tool does not mean finding a magical item with zero flaws. That item simply does not exist in the physical world.
Right. There is no superhero armor.
Finding the perfect tool means finding a tool whose flaws can be effectively managed. You are evaluating the trade-offs and choosing the friction you are willing to endure.
Choosing your friction.
Exactly. The flaw of the HDPE glove, the catastrophic tearing, loss of barrier protection, and workflow disruption is largely unmanageable. It stops the work entirely. The flaw of the nitrile glove trapping body heat and sweat is entirely manageable. You apply a desiccant like baby powder. You take a deliberate 5-minute hand-washing break to reset your thermal baseline.
Yeah.
You trade a minor, manageable biological inconvenience for vastly superior mechanical performance, microscopic precision, and robust durability.
You are intentionally selecting the sweat problem because it's a massively better problem to have than the tearing plastic problem.
Completely.
That completely reframes how we should look at efficiency and comfort.
It requires a brutally honest assessment of the task at hand. If you're just picking up a single dry leaf off the patio, maybe the loose fit of the HDPE is fine.
Sure.
But for the intensive, friction-heavy, high-abrasion reality of proper weeding, the structural integrity and tactile sensitivity of nitrile win out every single time, even when you factor in the required maintenance breaks.
Let's briefly recap the journey you, the listener, have just been on with us. We started by looking at the baseline, the default choice for quick tasks,
Mhm.
the highly affordable, highly convenient, easy on, easy off, high-density polyethylene glove.
A material characterized by linear polymer chains that create a stiff, unyielding film.
Right.
A material that provides only basic barrier protection and ultimately fails through plastic deformation under the physical pressure and high friction of weeding, forcing the user to burn through multiple destroyed pairs in a single session.
It was the cheap, baggy emergency rain poncho of the garden.
Exactly.
Then we explored the mechanics of the Challenger, the nitrile glove, a synthetic copolymer that weaves hardness and elasticity into a 3D mesh, bypassing latex allergies while fitting like a diver's wetsuit.
A material that offers extreme durability, requiring only one pair per session, while preserving the crucial tactile feedback loop.
Which is so important.
It allows the mechanoreceptors in your skin to feel the tension of a stem, providing the microscopic precision necessary to isolate and pull weeds without crushing the surrounding ecosystem.
But because it is an impermeable barrier, it also creates a tiny microsauna on your hands, requiring a bit of baby powder or a deliberate mid-session hand wash to manage the thermodynamic sweat trap.
Right.
It's such a brilliant, tangible distillation of how things actually work in the real world. The right tool for a tough job isn't always the one that is easiest to slip on. Sometimes, the easiest tool is actually a trap that makes the job vastly harder. The perfect tool is the one that gives you the precision, the durability, and the feedback to actually accomplish the task effectively, even if it requires a little bit of proactive maintenance along the way.
It all comes down to aligning the physical properties of the tool with the mechanical demands of the environment. When you do that successfully, you stop fighting your equipment and you start actually doing the work.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a final provocative thought to mull over. Take a step back from the garden and think about the tools, the software interfaces, or even the daily habits you use in your own professional or personal life.
Oh, that's a great question.
Where are you currently settling for the HDPE approach? Where are you opting for the cheap, loose-fitting, easy-on, easy-off solution that secretly frustrates you because it keeps structurally breaking under pressure?
And more importantly, what would happen if you adopted the nitrile approach in that area of your life? What if you deliberately chose a tool built for precision and durability, accepting that a little initial discomfort or required routine maintenance might actually yield a profoundly better, more effective result? Next time you reach for that quick fix, ask yourself if you're just throwing on a baggy rain poncho, when what you really need is a second skin of armor.